Brands care about two things in media. One they love, the other they hate. Growth moves brands forward. Waste holds them back. Love growth. Hate waste. At Tinuiti, our technology reveals the truth, enabling our people to create growth for brands that defines the category, and to hunt down waste, the biggest growth killer of all. Do this and marketing can be what we all want it to be. Love growth. Hate waste. Tinuiti. Love growth, hate waste.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to dive into the details of what Prime Day can teach us about winning Q4. So first, we're going to cover a few logistics. We're going to do some quick intros. Then we're going to dig into the data before our panel discussion. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let us know where you're tuning in from the chat. Looks like we have everyone from Florida, Salt Lake City, Los Angeles, Atlanta, so welcome. Keep plugging those in there. I'm Catherine, our marketing program manager here at Tinuiti, and I'm coming to you from the rainy and unusually cool south side of Virginia today. So, all right, I'm going to get into logistics. So our number one question that we always get is about the recording and slides, but don't worry, we've got you covered. So we're going to send out the recording slides directly to your inbox after the session. So feel free to go back and watch those, or you can share them with your colleagues. Also, if you happen to get disconnected at any point, you can use the same link that is in your calendar hold in your inbox to hop back in. We have loaded up the handouts tab with some great resources, so make sure you take a look there and download those. And the slides are in there too, actually, so if you want to go ahead and download those, you can do that. And the chat is open for you to network, ask questions to the panelists. We'd love to see you all connect and engage, so don't be shy there. And then finally, we'll have some polls that you can participate in. I think we have one up now. If you toggle over from chat to polls on the right-hand side of your screen, you should be able to do that. And then a little bit about Tinuiti before we dive in. So Tinuiti is the largest independent full funnel marketing agency in the US across the media that matters most. We are built for digital forward brands that want to scale with precision. We operate across commerce, search, social, streaming, TV, and creative, and we're backed by proprietary and patent tech and a measurement-first mindset that cuts waste and drives meaningful growth. All right, before I introduce the stars of the show, I wanted to get a little insight from all of you. So if you head over to that polls tab on the right-hand side of your screen, let us know how you would describe your brand's performance during Prime Day 2025. So answers are ranging from we crushed it to still crunching numbers. So let us know which category you fall into. Looks like already we've got the majority of people telling us that hit goals, but definitely room for some improvement there. So that one's still taking it. All right, well, you're definitely in the right place with us today. And enough of hearing from me. Let's get to the good stuff already. So I'm going to step aside now so that you can hear from the real experts. Andy, I'll kick it over to you if you want to get us started with introductions.
Yeah, thanks so much, Catherine. Andy Taylor here, VP of Research at Tinuiti, charged with keeping tabs on the more than $4 billion that we have in media under management annually, as well as running some proprietary survey-based studies. And I'll kick it to Joe.
Hey, everybody. My name's Joe O'Connor. I'm the Senior Director of Innovation and Growth focused on Amazon at Tinuiti, and I'm based in Seattle. Maria.
Hi, everyone. My name is Maria Cajaros. I am a Senior Manager here at Tinuiti, focused on operations side of Amazon, based in Los Angeles. I'll kick it to Jordan.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jordan. I'm based in Montana, but I'm a strategist on the commerce media team, and I focus more so on Amazon and DSP specifically. And I'll kick it over to Spencer.
Hi, guys. Spencer Millerberg. I'm the one not Tinuiti guy here. Thank you for having me. From a background perspective, I've worked at Walmart, Amazon, started a company called One Click Retail, and now we do Detail Page. What Detail Page does is we take care of two main things. We have search optimization, making sure that you can be optimized within your organic search for Amazon, Walmart, ChatGPT, Perplexity, all of those different aspects. And we can go into that a little bit more. But the second thing we do is we take care of Amazon Insights, market share, traffic, keywords. And we have AI trained insights, so using 20 plus years of experience in order to do that. So thank you guys for having me today.
All right, and I'll go ahead and get us started now with what we knew going into Prime Day. Now, ahead of the event, about 2 months before Prime Day, we ran a survey surveying 1,002 Amazon Prime members on what their plans were for Prime Day and how they were approaching the event this year. And a few key trends stuck out. First, people were fairly excited about the event this year. 84% of all respondents said that they were planning on taking advantage of Prime Day this year. That's compared to 68% of our respondents who said that they didn't take advantage of the event last year. So an increase in the share of Prime members who are planning on doing Prime Day this year. Now, digging into those folks who did come off the sidelines or expecting to come off the sidelines and asking, why they were planning to take part this year when they didn't do so last year. The most common answer was that they were more interested in finding good deals this year, which I certainly think ties into the overall discussion around tariffs. We asked a separate question around, how will higher U.S. tariffs impact your Prime Day plans? And the number one response was that they'll need to see larger discounts than usual before they decide to make a purchase. Second most common response was that they'll stock up on products that they think will be more expensive later in the year. And so certainly, tariffs were on folks' minds when they were considering, how they were going to approach Prime Day this year. And then we also asked, what types of purchases are you expecting to make during Prime Day? And we also saw this demand for lower prices in these results. Number one response is essentials that they would have purchased even if it weren't Prime Day. So clearly folks just looking for deals on the things that they needed day to day. But then second most common response, again, products that they think will get more expensive later in the year because of tariffs. So again, trying to get ahead of those tariffs. And, certainly given the theme of this webinar, I think another key bar to call out on this chart is the 27% of respondents who say that they were expecting to stock up on Christmas and winter holiday gifts during Prime Day, already getting that Q4 holiday shopping, again, likely tied to, how folks are anticipating things might get more expensive in the coming months. Now, with that, I want to dive into what we actually saw play out on Prime Day, zeroing in specifically on advertising trends. And I think first chart to start out with is how sponsored products fared. Obviously this is the flagship format of Ad Console, and for same store year-over-year growth, we saw Amazon sponsored products advertisers ramp up spend 20% year over year, which was right in line with the 20% increase that we saw in conversions. So the cost of driving conversions actually remained pretty stable year over year. We did see sales only grow 5% as we did see that AOV fall year over year, but overall a strong event. And a key thing to call out about this chart is that it is the 4 days of the event of 2025 compared to the 2 days of Prime Day last year plus the 2 days after. And that's how we're going to be evaluating it for any year-over-year charts moving forward. Now, taking a look at how the different days broke down in terms of their importance for sponsored products driven sales, day one was clearly the most important, 34% of all sales attributed to that first 24 hours of the event. But I think a key thing to call out here is that 42% of our sponsored product sales were attributed to days 3 and 4. So from our perspective, pretty important to keep those deals and advertising active throughout the event, as there were a number of folks who came off the sidelines to make their purchases later in the event. Additionally, those days 3 and 4 are really where we saw the growth. Now, comparing days 1 and 2 of the event this year to the 2 days of the event last year, both were down more than 30% year over year. Which is no surprise. Part of that survey we ran also asked about the 4-day event, and a lot of folks expected to shop around more and expected to push their purchases to later in the event. So it makes total sense that those some of those sales will get pushed later in the event, and then we see a big jump in sales year over year on days 3 and 4. Obviously, these are compared to days that weren't a part of Prime Day last year, but that's kind of the nature of having to do year over year comps when you're looking at a 4-day event versus a 2-day event. And I think another big trend to call it about those last 2 days is that we really saw the share of conversions attributed to sponsored brands rise throughout the last 48 hours. If you look at the last 2 days of the event, advertisers were more than 10% more likely to see conversions come from new to brand customers than they were during the first 24 hours of the event. So I think, when you're sifting through your data and evaluating how things played out, I think certainly don't just take into account sales volume, also consider the types of purchases that you're getting, especially if you're really focused on driving new to brand. Now, another big trend to call out that we've seen over the past few years is DSP advertisers really ramping up investment heading into Prime Day, not just during the Prime Day event. And we really see that here in this chart. Looking at the first 7 days of July, ad investment on the DSP was up more than 50% on daily average compared to the first week of June. So again, brands getting in front of customers early to make sure they're aware of their brands going into Prime Day. And then also, expanding that investment during the event, a 31% year-over-year increase in spend for the DSP, looking at same-store advertisers that were active on the DSP both this year and last year. Again, looking at the 4 days of the event this year compared to the 2 days of last year plus the 2 days after. Now, a big part of this is that Prime video spend in particular has really jumped year over year, a 91% increase compared to the event last year. And I think certainly, as we look ahead to Q4, something to keep in mind if you're not already taking advantage of Prime Video ads is that it has become, a major part of how folks are getting in front of Amazon shoppers in advance of big sales events. And so with that, I'll kick it over to Spencer, who's got a lot of great insights from Detail Page.
Hi, guys. Thanks for the information that we had there. Just one key distinction as we're moving into my section, I'm really talking about not necessarily advertising attributed. We're going to be talking about, in general, how did sales occur? So there is going to be a distinction that you have there. Where's my click through there, I guess. So I'm going to give you a little bit of the review by category on some of the results, how we did on sales. And then we're going to talk about some trends, 4 specific trends around agentic search, 2 versus 4 that you have there, Amazon being a big winner. And I can't see what the other one is because the slide thing's up above. But overall, guys, this is what we found. About 5.4% year over year when you compare the 2 days last year versus the 4 days that you had this year. There was about a 5.5% increase in sales that we had net. The thing that we like to look at, though, is it's not necessarily just incremental. A lot of results, when you see them, will be like, hey, the biggest sellers on Prime Day were blah, blah, blah. Well, if they were the biggest sellers the week before Prime Day, and now they're the biggest sellers today, it doesn't really tell us what was moving during Prime Day. So we wanted to take a look at the incremental lift. The total incremental lift was probably a little bit closer to 450 million that we had here, but we had the categories that we're tracking here, you can see these categories had the highest incremental lift around that $400 million mark. Home and kitchen coming in the strongest with about $108 million of lift. Electronics, health, household, etc., as you can see here on screen. Now, this is just measuring the top 100 items per category. So there's even a little bit more that can go on there. So what you'll see here is that the home and kitchen and electronics and health and household, these 3 categories were 61% of the total overall lift that we saw. They performed the best. It's what customers were moving towards that they had. Now, some of these other categories that you see here, the incremental sales that we're showing here could be a little bit muted because these are newer products, smaller, higher quantity of SKUs that we're going through, may not have just been in the top 100, but may have trickled out a lot more. This is where if you're a smaller brand, you end up playing a lot stronger, where the top categories were really dominated by big brands. To get to that, let me show you what I mean by these big brands that dominated. Home and kitchen, you can see here top 10 items with the incremental lift that they had here on the side. that you had. What you'll notice here is a lot of necessity items. We're going to get to in a little bit how people bought a lot of stuff that they were planning on buying anyway. And you can see similar in electronics. Apple. I mean, Apple ends up dominating and having 8 out of the 10 top 10 items that you have here. But as you look at this, if you want to have a custom report about how you did, what performed well, just email us and we can get you this type of custom report that we will look at all of the actions to prepare for the next Q4, specifically on what you did well and what it is that you can do well coming up next. So we can have those at any place. It's just Tinuiti@detailpage.com. You can email us there and we'll get you those specific reports, because the nuances by category really, really do make a giant, massive difference on how you want to approach it. Let me tell you how some of those trends that we saw here in general about how those things are, but and how those could affect your category. Okay. Now the next slide. Let me go here. This is the biggest trend that we saw. It's agentic or AI or Gen AI search, however you want to say it. This started to create a major waves this year for the first time. Last year we saw it, but it wasn't as big. This year we're seeing major impact in AI search. So we're finding that approximately 38% of all product-related searches are now AI influenced. So there's a bunch of studies here that you can see on the side. Bain, I love this study. They say that 80% of consumers rely on AI searches for 40% or more of their product-related searches. So what's interesting there is we're seeing both a hunter and gatherer mentality here, where people are using these ChatGPT, Perplexity, and these other AIs to really hunt for their products, but then they'll go straight to Amazon and still search for those products. We don't necessarily know how long that behavior is going to be there until they rely more on one or the other, but we are seeing that growing and growing dramatically. The Adobe study down below says 53% of people used AI to shop in 2025. That was like 3,000% higher than it was the year before. So it's really massive. And this last one really surprised me. But if you take the AWS numbers and you look at how many searches are happening via Rufus versus the top search bar that you have there, we're now seeing 14% of all Amazon searches are happening via Rufus. That's just a really big jump. Last year, we ended up seeing about 2 to 3%, and now we're at 14%. So AI really became the story of change that's happening here. And avoid this at your own peril. So let me tell you just a couple of things that Amazon has outlined exactly how you can win in this. These are the 15 Cosmo dimensions that they outlined within their science document. And then they have a couple patent documents that if you want some good pre-sleep material, you can read that. But what they're telling you here is you have to be really good at talking to a customer about what the benefits of this product are, who these people are. Think about it. If you stop for a second, agentic AI knows more about you than almost anything else. If you really want an interesting search, jump into ChatGPT or Perplexity and say, hey, what do you know about me? And it'll start listing all of this stuff about you. Hey, you're a marathon runner. You're really into fitness, or you love this television show series. It knows all these things about you. And so what Amazon's outlined here is that they are asking brands to talk about, what is this used for? Who is it used by? What is it used on? What season of the year is it used on? So in the right-hand example, they're like, hey, these are shoes. Well, we know that this woman's pregnant, therefore we're going to have a slip-resistant shoe that we're going to have there. And so there's a major difference, if you want to simplify this, between SEO, the content that you use to hit within the search bar, and GEO, generative engine optimization, that's needed for in order to appear within AI search. So that context is all those 15 dimensions that you have, where SEO is only about the specific keywords that you have. And so this is really what's happening here, is this context needs to happen. So let me give you some examples here. So this is an example from Optimum Nutrition, or Forensic Glanbia Nutrition that we have here. You can see in this case that they are missing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of the 15 dimensions that is necessary for AI to capture this, they're missing these. It doesn't say that it's used for workouts, daily supplements. It's not used in the gym, home travel, like used by athletes, CrossFitters, sprinters. And so what happens is this AI, you type it in, it knows all this stuff about you, but it can't quite link up and tell you that this product is for you. And so these are the gaps that brands end up needing to fill before they start to work on it. And we saw this, that AI ready content, it performed dramatically better during Prime Day. And so if you had 0 to 40% of these 15 dimensions that were here, you saw about an 82% lift that you had on the existing product versus the 4 weeks prior. You can see the results here. When the more of those dimensions that you had, the higher the percent lift that you had. And so it's no longer about keyword that you have here, although keyword is important because you still have, 60%, you have the majority of searches are happening through that search bar, but you have to have the context in addition to the content that you have here. So that is the first major trend that you have here. I'll spend a lot less time on trends 2 through 4, just so we can get to our panel discussion that we have here. But Prime Day, 4-day Prime Day that you have here. This is the AI generated image that I asked it to produce. And you got to love it that there's 2 day 2s in there, apparently, or 2 day 3s rather. AI gets it most of the way right. But what we really saw is we saw about 35% of sales happening on day 1, about 30% of sales happening on day 4, and a little bit in the middle there on day 2 and 3 had a much more muted amount of sales. So you saw that the ad attributed sales were a little bit different than that, but it still follows that same trend that you have. And so it's telling you that people are buying both with and without ad, or they see the ad and they come back and search and get it later. So trend 3, though, is how Amazon won big on this too. So if I take this same image and then I just put it right before that, what we saw is that Amazon ended up extending this. We called it a 4-day shopping holiday, but really they ended up adding 2 days at the beginning of this as well, where they took all of their products, their Ring doorbells, their Luna, their Blink, all those different aspects, and they added it beforehand as well. And what we saw is that pre-lead up really primed the pump. And you see the top 10 products in office products, for example, where you get 6 out of the 10 happening were Amazon Basics items that they really did a pretty phenomenal job of capturing some of those sales that you had. The last one that we saw is the impact of tariffs. We saw a couple of things here. First of all, essentials performed really well. You see like dishwasher detergent and fire and like paper plates. Like this is also the first time that I've seen Amazon Basics be in the top 5 selling products that you had here. And so it's a really high selling items that you had here. But the other thing about I see that Trevor from Pet IQ is on here, right? Like we saw that pet products that they were already going to buy were being added to their carts that you see here, like your flea and tick control, Greenies Originals that you see here. These are some of the top items that had incremental sales because they were really shopping for what they were going to shop for anyway. And again, home and kitchen, they're buying vacuum cleaners here, things that they were going to buy anyway, that they're waiting for the right time. And so you see this stock up type of mentality that happens here. So if I were going to use this to prep for Q4, these are the 3 things that I would do. First of all, I would make sure that you have your AI ready content and context ready by September 15th. You really have to get that 6 weeks prior to that October Prime Day event, because if you don't, it doesn't have time for that AI to index properly across. Second thing, schedule your deals early or late. Early was really good. Late was really good. Those middle days lagged. And the third thing is pick tariff mindful products that you have here. Those pantry filler or useful items seem to perform much better than we saw in other places. Okay. With that, we'll go and turn it back over to the Tinuiti folks.
Thanks so much, Spencer. That was awesome. Yeah, so now we're going to go ahead and get into the panel part of our discussion. And just going to be a round robin where we hit a lot of different topics and how folks should be thinking about Prime Day, and then moving on to how they should be taking that information into Q4. So first question, going to kick it back to you, Spencer. Obviously we talked about a lot of different metrics here today and, different trends that we saw. How do you truly know if your Prime Day was a success, and which metrics do you feel like are often overlooked that shouldn't be? Oh, you're on mute, Spencer.
Mute. Thank you. It wouldn't be a webinar without somebody being on mute, right? I like the framework of inputs versus outputs, right? And if you take a look at outputs, you can't influence outputs without influencing the inputs. So, but the most important outputs are really sales and profit that you have here. Because sometimes we can get into these Prime Day time periods and be like, hey, we sold millions of dollars at a $30 million loss. Like, it's just not the right thing to do. So we have to think about profitable sales that ultimately matter. And then are you getting a fair share of the incremental sales? That's measured via market share during that time period that you have. Then from there, we have to think about the inputs and how you get there. Retail on its most basic levels is super simple. You either got to get more people there or you got to get them to convert once they get there, right? And so it's traffic or conversion is where you have to spend your time. And so I would break down my traffic versus conversion, and then what are the factors that are driving that? There's a couple of examples that I threw up on the slide. Maybe we can bring back up the slide 29 that we have here. If you look at this at slide 29, Andrea, I see that you're on from Group Seb. Like, inventory was an issue that we saw here when we looked at this and said, gosh, we got to get in stock in the right way that we have here. And then also that they didn't have SEO optimized content. So these are inputs that are, number one, driving conversion issues. If you're not in stock, you can't convert. And number two, driving discoverability on SEO ready content that you have here. And so these are some examples of inputs versus outputs that I would be looking at if I were a brand.
Yeah, and kind of similar to what Spencer just said, evaluating your benchmarks, which I know your benchmarks will be quite different given this was a 4-day event versus last year, a 2-day event, but looking at actual versus projected, did you miss, meet, exceed your goals? And again, similar to Spencer said, retain a healthy margin, right? Did your discount, was it too intense where you lost out on your margin and you were no longer profitable? So you were just kind of giving away money essentially. And then lift in traffic to your PDVs. Did those sessions actually convert and turn into sales? As far as the overlooked portion, I would say a handful of things that are overlooked, in my opinion, on the operations side is bestseller ranking. Really tracking your bestseller ranking. How did it improve or change during the event and post the event, and how can we capitalize on that? As well as in stock rates, right? Did you run out of inventory and miss some sales opportunities during those events? And then also new to brand sales, really looking at those and seeing how we can use that to assess for brand growth in the future.
Yeah, and piggybacking off of Maria on the ad side, I think new to brand is a really big metric that we should look at, and detail page view rate. So looking at glance views overall, but also looking at the ad side of glance views and what was driven by your ads, and also organically, were you capturing those users? And then looking within those new to brand metrics a little bit more in detail of new to brand cost per detail page view, seeing if that was like efficient or not, and seeing like the volume of new to brand users. I think this is a perfect time to bring more so of like entry point and entry products for someone to test your brand. So measuring, did you drive new to brand? Were you casting your net wide enough for these consumers and reaching more of that new audience and bringing them into the fold during this event? So I think any type of new to brand metric, as well as looking at detailed page views and looking at the efficiency, were you driving those detailed page views of qualified traffic at more of like an efficient rate overall?
Yeah, and I think what I would add in is I think one, it's a little mundane. I don't know if it's overlooked, but I think one unique nuance to looking at this year's Prime Day performance in particular is the awkwardness of comparing a 4-day event to the 2-day event last year. So I think like, establishing your framework, like Spencer mentioned, then looking at all those metrics that Maria and Jordan went through, like that all needs to be benchmarked against something. And I think being really thoughtful, particularly this year, on how you're establishing that benchmark. Like there was a lot of press after day one that people were like, oh, Prime Day, like day one was slower than day one last year. When again, coming into the event, I think a lot of people expected that the daily volume of activity is going to be spread out over more days this year. So like daily volumes were probably going to be down over year. So I don't know if people like forgot it was a 4-day event, or like forgot we kind of all anticipated that the shopping would be spread out. But like I think just being thoughtful and establishing that benchmark, particularly this year, because there is that awkwardness of comparing like the longer event this year with the 2-day event last year.
Yeah, that's a really great point. And I think especially keeping that in mind when you're just kind of seeing those external sources of figures. My hottest take from this Prime Day is that I can't tell if Adobe's numbers were just July 8th through 11th compared to July 8th through 11th of last year. That's kind of what their write-up makes it seem like, meaning that they wouldn't have overlapped with Prime Day 2024 at all in the year-over-year comps. So that 30% number that's been thrown out about e-commerce growth, it seems like it might just be comparing kind of Prime Day 2025 to like 4 days in early July last year without any Prime Day overlap, which may be the huge cause there of the disparity between that and some other figures. But no, great point, Joe. Moving to our next question, I'm going to kick it to Jordan first. We saw more clients invest in the lead up to media strategy in the lead up to the event with media strategy this year. What do you think is driving that approach, and what do you think brands need to consider in order to make sure they're executing that effectively?
Yeah, I think historically brands have looked at the lead-in strategy for more of those high effort products. So looking at like a TV, luggage, kayak of users who are really browsing and comparing prices. And it makes a little bit more of an effort for that decision to purchase. But I think this year we saw that household goods and like more of those low effort items to purchase were some of the top converters. And so I think in the past, brands looked at the lead-in of like, you don't need to really do a high lead in for a dishwasher cleaner. But I think the perspective that we've learned is the lead in is important in order to grow the visibility and awareness for a brand. So that first touch point has already happened. They're entering your retargeting pool. So during the event, you're able to just drive that more conversion based campaigns for them to convert. So I think the lead in and an extended lead in, because it is such a saturated market and it is very competitive. Obviously, like CPMs are rising. And so it's really important in order to get in front in an early stage, because once you have that first touch point of awareness and then engagement, the person already knows your product. And so when that deal happens for that 4-day event or 2-day event, they're able to convert on a more easy and efficient way. Whereas if they just become aware of your product during the event, I think it's a little bit more of a harder conversion. So kind of bridging that gap and building that retargeting pool leading in is what's important. And I think brands are starting to recognize that.
Yeah, and I'd give a big plus to everything Jordan said. I think that's really the key, Andy, like using that lead up period to create kind of warm leads, if you will. Like if you get someone to add your product to your cart like the week before Prime Day, the cost you'll save acquiring that customer like from, upper funnel during Prime Day is huge. And I think too, that trend also speaks to, I think we are seeing just more advertisers on Amazon starting to really invest more heavily in DSP. And I think starting to see the value that activity, kind of like mid and upper funnel activity, drives and creating those warm leads and like ultimately minimizing or lowering your cost to acquire a user when they get to like, search CPCs and things like that. So I think that also is just a broader trend we're seeing, outside of Prime Day as well.
Yeah. The thing that you're saying here is like costs are critical. And I think there's two things that I'm seeing. Like number one, like costs, what you're talking about, have been critical. This year, the pressure that companies are feeling as they struggle with budgets, they figure out ways to reduce, like all the reductions in force, like all those different aspects costs are super, super critical. And so making this paid more efficient by getting it a little bit earlier is definitely a key. The other piece is that most people don't understand that paid search costs are variable. It's totally variable. Like if you have two companies that are in the exact same keyword, the exact same day, they'll pay different amounts for it. And one of them pays less because they are more relevant to the customer. And it's based upon their organic search that they have. And so they have to get that piece right. And then if you can get the click-through rates on the lead-through up earlier, then that starts to reduce the cost and become more relevant that you have, because they don't take relevancy and paid versus organic. It just takes click-through and purchase rate prior, and they'll put those things through. So number one, cost is really critical, and get that right through organic and through, getting your budget. The second thing that I'm seeing on this one is we talked about this AI pushing a ton of people direct that you have here. But if you think about the lead up that it takes to that, like it's taking 4 to 8 weeks to get these changes to index correctly. And so boosting that indexing with the paid prior to the event, it's really a really important piece that you have here. Use whatever analogy you want. Early bird gets the worm, red hen cracks the wheat, gets the bread, like whatever, right? Like the impact on AI on this organic search is so strong, but you have to get to it early in order to get to that process 4 to 8 weeks beforehand to get that indexing correct.
I love that. And certainly just being able to get an advantage during the event by doing your work early and often, I think that makes a lot of sense. Kicking it right back to you, Spencer.
Sure.
Other than that, what are some other key trends that brands should be paying attention to as we head deeper into the year and into Q4?
Okay, you ready for a new acronym? This is one that I think you're going to start hearing a lot in Q3, Q4. It's AIO, all in one. Okay, AI is going to continue to become major shopping disruption. I don't know if you read the Financial Times article where it's talking about ChatGPT is going to have a full checkout within its platform that you have here, right? Like think about what that changes if you have this customer go direct into their AI and start shopping directly there. Right now, we're seeing the customer being a hunter and a gatherer, and they're using AI for their searches, and they're using Amazon to check out. But at what point do they start to trust this AI process that says, he knows me, he knows the best price, the quality, et cetera, that I'm looking at that's personalized to me, and moving direct into that AIO all-in-one type of a search scenario. And so even if that's only being used 20% of the time, that means a full revision of discoverability, right? I mean, paid search ends up changing fundamentally how you start to get in there. And it has to be these other secondary methods, like we're talking about, making sure the lead up is correct, making sure that the timing is right, making sure your context is correct. Like all those things have to change on that trend that you have here, because AIO, all-in-one checkout, is going to change a lot of things as we continue down that path.
Yeah, and I think kind of building on that a bit, I think one trend to watch is how Amazon continues to extend these tentpoles. So we saw it last year with, I think it was like Black Friday, Cyber Monday became like an 11-day event. Who knows if they're going to extend that this year? I saw some chatter in the chat, Prime Big Deal Day, will it be 2 days or 4 days? We don't know. But like, right, there's this trend where these tentpole events are getting longer and longer. And like, I think one thing we should expect is, during the tentpole, the percentage of time a consumer spends on Amazon during the tentpole is going to decrease and decrease, right? They're going to, whether it's using AI agents and doing product research there, right? We know we saw through some of Andy's survey data, they're like, consumers are doing more research, and they're going to be spending more time during those tentpoles, not actively shopping on Amazon, just by nature of like, now they have 10 days to research and make a purchase rather than a day or two. So I think from an ads perspective, right, being active on channels that you can reach those users and stay top of mind outside of Amazon, like the DSP. But I also think, other channels, media channels outside of Amazon, social, search, being active, making sure, like whether it's Perplexity or ChatGPT or these AI agents, your brands are optimized to show up, positively, and be highly visible in those areas is going to become more and more important. I think as these events are longer and consumers are going to have more time to research, and I think we should expect spend overall less of that tentpole time actually on Amazon.
Yeah, and I think going off of what you said, Joe, is paying attention to what's happening outside of Amazon, so social and influencers, but driving that traffic to Amazon. We've seen that social has become a really big customer acquisition channel, and a consumer will shop where they shop. So I think leveraging that in the future is really important. And it also ties in with mobile device trends. So we've seen mobile device actually conversions increase quite a bit this Prime Day as compared to the past. I think in the past, historically, desktop is ultimately where like we kind of say those like high intent purchases, the big kid purchases happen on desktop, but mobile's an easy checkout. Kind of follows the trends with like household goods being one of the biggest performers this year in the categories. So I think like paying attention to mobile and making sure your content is up to date, a mobile conversion is possible, and that everything is set up for success to drive that.
I don't know if you noticed, Jordan, on that mobile portion, the Amazon actually has released, it's really weird how they release updates sometimes, but about the detail page themselves, they're going to change to have a two-part title system, one specific to mobile and one that's a little bit longer. Talking to some of the people that are really familiar with it inside of Amazon, they're blaming it on mobile, but in reality, it's a structured data play that they have, where they need to have the most critical pieces, and some of the titles have gotten too crazy and long, and they've put restrictions on it and so forth. And now they're taking it, slimming it down to where that's the most critical piece, and then that second piece of the title, that longer title, can now become a structured data repository for that information to live. So I think mobile call out, super, super keen there. Nicely done.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and adding to that, not just in mobile, but even in search on your desktop, right? The first 30 characters, maybe 50 to 60 characters show up in search. So you want to get that important content in your title like at the start of it before at the end of it. And then I'd say another couple key trends to pay attention to. I know maybe a lot of brands don't want to participate during the tentpole. It's expensive. You're going to get traffic regardless. It's a high traffic time. So really paying attention to the post-Prime or Q4 halo effect, right? And capitalize on that increased traffic and at a cheaper rate, right? You don't maybe have to discount at that 30%. That is almost a requirement these days during tentpoles. So maybe offer a smaller discount, 10 to 15, to capture those shoppers that didn't convert. And if you're on the seller side, you can even target specific like brand cart abandoners. So you can get really targeted in your approach post-Prime. And then also taking a look at any like emerging ASINs or categories, items that did really well during Prime Day will likely perform really well during your other tentpole events. So you don't want to switch it up too much, but because the items that do well during one tentpole will do well during another one as well.
That's a great point. We've touched on this a bit, but I think just to double click, since it has been such an important part of what we ended up seeing for Prime Day 2025. I'm just going to kick it right back to you, Maria. How do you feel like the 4-day Prime Day event impacted consumer purchasing urgency and their engagement? And what do you think that signifies for future retail holidays?
Yeah, I think we saw a lot of this year in particular, a lot of increase in wish listers and like add to cart behavior like the 2 weeks leading into Prime Day, that we really saw an increase there. So people were planning for it. We did see a very strong urgency on the first day, as mentioned early on in the event show. I don't know what I'm calling this, webinar, which then faded like the middle 2 days, and a slight increase back on day 4, but not as strong urgency as day 1. So I think this 4-day event really allowed shoppers some more time to shop and research, not just on Amazon, but across other retailers, right? Walmart, Target, all of them did these events as well. And so I think with the allotted time to research and cross shop, which is also why we saw a decrease in AOV this year versus last Prime Day. We should hopefully see a decrease in returns, I would hope. And so we saw less impulsive buys, I believe, this time around.
Yeah, and I think double tapping on what Spencer talked about before, I think the field goal analogy is really good, obviously, because like day one was the highest. Day 4 was also high, but still didn't surpass day 1. But I think that's similar when we're looking at fall. I think last year, Turkey 5 turned to Turkey 12, but we still saw the highest conversions on Black Friday, Cyber Monday, some of those peak days. And I think that's the same mentality coming into this Q4 is those peak days are where consumers will still convert. I think that's what they know. And the other days in the middle is more of just kind of browsing and shopping. But I think those really high conversion days still need to be fully funded and really focus on like driving the most impact throughout those days, but still remaining like visible within the other less peak moments, I would say. But still understanding that like this Q4 October Prime Day, like those last day, the days that consumers know is like where they'll still continue to convert.
Yeah, they do continue on those like prime, those really peak days that you have. But what's also interesting is deal fatigue becomes a real thing. It like is a real thing. It's like, oh, if it's like, everything's bolded, nothing's bolded. Everything's on sale, nothing's on sale, right? And you see a little bit of that starting to occur, especially in this Q4 time period. But it differs depending upon the category, is what we've seen. Some categories, shoppers are buying really, really late, and some categories they're buying really early that you have here, right? Like video games, it's like, dude, the day that stuff comes out, it's like it's on, and that's when things are happening. Where we're seeing some of the housewares items, they kind of start to trickle out a little bit further, a little bit later in there. I guess mom needs a vacuum cleaner. Let's get it. A little bit later, it's on deal, sort of thing. So you have to look at that category specificity on what happened during this Prime Day, and I think you're going to see that same type of behavior reflected as you just take this Q4 and now we expand October, November, December. What I think you called it, Maria, the Turkey 16 now that we have with October included in there. Right? It's like, yeah, you have to look at it by your category to understand what's the right time for you to engage with the customer. So if you need help with that, let us know. We're happy to pull that stuff for you.
That's a great point. Yeah, certainly those category differences, also just the differences in the types of shoppers you can reach at different moments. One historical trend that we've noticed throughout the holiday shopping season in the past has been, new to brand customer share tends to spike on key days like Black Friday and Cyber Monday, but then it kind of subsides for a bit. But then like as it gets closer and closer to those shipping cutoff dates, people suddenly become more willing to purchase from new brands they haven't purchased from previously, or pull the trigger on brands that they were considering for quite a while. And we start to see that new to brand customer share rise throughout the back part of the holiday season as well. So not only, what kinds of products people are buying, but what types of customers are buying at that point. And so I think that's the perfect time to go ahead and transition to, looking ahead to Q4. Obviously, we've already started talking about October Prime, the Prime Big Deal days, and how that might get kicked off here pretty soon. Spencer, with the lines between paid and organic getting blurrier, and generative AI agents are now shaping the future of search in a lot of ways, what's the one thing performance marketers must do right now in order to kind of balance their paid and organic efforts and win this Q4?
Dude, I haven't even talked about AI this time. Why are you asking me this? Just kidding. Okay, well, since you asked me an AI question, and you asked me for one thing, I'm going to give you three things. Just like an AI always does. Like, you got to get the context, not the content, right. Like if there was only one thing, that's the thing that they have to do. They got to get the context right. So we were looking at user dimensions, those 15 that Amazon outlines that have to hit. It's the exact same ones on chat, exact same ones on Perplexity that you have to hit. Less than 10% of brands have those things, right? It's less than 10%. So it's not just a search term about whey protein. You have to have, it's about the CrossFit or marathon runner that's there. It's not just a ceiling fan. It's used by boho designers for the perfect living room fan, right? Like you have to have that context added in, not just the content search terms anymore. The second thing is you should be freaking ready to be prepared for the structured data change that Amazon's going to do, because in true Amazon fashion, they're going to lock down Q4 from a code perspective. That means in Q3, probably September, they're going to like say, hey, here's a 2-part title system. So better like think about that. But I also anticipate that the 2,000 character limit for product descriptions, I think it's going to change, because AI, that's the best thing that you have, is that they can like chomp through massive amounts of data and give you a really easy response. So I think we're going to start to see that thing, and not just a 2,000 character, but have like an entire booklet. And the last thing that I'd say is they got to get ready for an audit. Like if you are advertising on content that is not ready, that doesn't have the context, doesn't have the structured data, you're going to pay massive amounts for that. You're going to pay through the nose. So anyway, there's my one thing in 3.
Yeah, and I'd say it's. I feel like brands are. It's a tough balance right now, as I think we're all like as consumers and as advertisers, right? Like in this transition period. I think the other trend that's important for brands to, have their fingers on Amazon brands in particular, and why I think making some of the changes and being on top of a lot of those details that Spencer mentions is so important is with Amazon pulling back. I don't think they've relaunched yet on Google Shopping, right? A lot of that traffic was pointed to detail pages. So as you're, making changes to improve your visibility among whether it's Rufus on Amazon, or I think more importantly in this scenario, third-party agentic AI solutions, ChatGPT, Perplexity, things like that. That's definitely a mechanism brands can use to maybe regain some of that traffic, at least in the short-term period now where some of that Google Shopping traffic has dropped off. But I do think the other, again, I know you asked about balance. I think that we do need to also stay grounded in a lot of the data around we haven't, at least on Amazon, seen a big drop off in the volume of traditional search traffic either. So it's while we at Tinuiti, we're definitely consulting with our clients and making sure they're positioning themselves well for AI as that trend, as users continue to use AI more and more and more. But we're certainly not pulling back on sponsored product spend, right? I don't think the adoption has gotten to that threshold yet where we've seen any indication that it's eating into the volume of traditional searches that are happening.
No, it's actually more,
so,
right? Like your
yeah,
traditional
we're
searches
seeing
went
that
up
go
more.
up, right? So it's an interesting. We're in an interesting phase where we're seeing more usage of AI, but we're also seeing more traditional search volume on Amazon. So right, it's like brands that it's just I feel like we have to keep our eye on over a dozen trends at once, and I think this AI thing is just another thing to balance in. But to a lot of the points Spencer made, it's a critical thing that I think the brands that will do well 18 months to 24 months from now are the ones who are really leaned into AI today and starting to prep for where these trends are going.
Yeah, it's an and, not an or proposition, is what you're saying,
absolutely.
right? Because look, if 38% are influenced by AI, that still means that you got 62%, did I do my math right? Yeah, that are not influenced by AI. And so you got to have an and, not an or.
These are great points. And to plug our recent Q2 digital ads benchmark report, if you haven't checked it out already, a big takeaway from it was that click growth was actually the strongest in the last 3 years on both Google paid search and Amazon sponsored products. So to these guys' points, really seeing strong volume still on these traditional search mechanisms. So definitely want to keep your eye on the ball there, while also looking ahead to the future as AI starts to become a more and more popular way for people to research. And kicking it over to Jordan, what do you think are key trends from this Prime Day that people should be aware of as they move deeper and closer to Q4?
Yeah, and I think we've touched on this a little bit, actually quite a bit this time, was kind of the diluted sense of urgency from the extensions. And that's not just from this Prime Day. I think last Turkey 12 we saw that, and we've been seeing a lot more frequent promo. And so deal fatigue is a real thing. I do think deeper discounts, not to an extent of above 30%, but I think a 20 to 30% is really a sweet spot, and a deeper discount when you're trying to attract new customers is really important. Also, with all of the new promos for October, and then we have Q4, I think there's just consistently a promotional period that we're leaning into. We're running retargeting, and then we're retargeting off of. And I think maintaining consistent ad spend and maintaining consistent new to brand acquisition efforts is really important. Before it was kind of peaks and valleys. And I think for Q4 going in, it's going to be pretty stagnant and steady of a high investment. And we'll need to invest more than we have in the past just to be able to even maintain with the standard performance from previous times.
Yeah, we're just noticing, people are being price conscious with their shopping, right? Given tariffs and, the uncertainty of the economy and how things are going. So we touched on this earlier. Consumers focus their shopping on the essentials, the household goods, the pet products, the personal care, less so on the luxury items that aren't a need, really. And so we're just really noting that price conscious. So if the discount doesn't seem worth it to them, they might not do it. And on the logistics side, this isn't anything new this year, but I think it's worth noting that delay in inventory pickups on Amazon's side, as well as delays in receipts at their FC. So really planning accordingly for that.
Yeah, and I think for me, Andy, it's how can you leverage that lead up time? So I think Jordan touched on this earlier, but I think like being really smart at using that 2 to 4 weeks, maybe even a little extended before the tent pole to really start to create awareness, like warm up some leads so that when day one hits of the event, you already have a lot of consumers with your product in their cart, and they just need to like purchase and take advantage of the deal, and really kind of minimize your, at least from an advertising standpoint, your costs during the event. I think that's going to be a trend that continues moving forward.
Yeah. You guys said a lot of great things. I'm everything you said, yes, agree with. In addition, guess what? Get your AI content ready, right? It's context, number one, but then number two, Marie, you talked about dilutive. We're actually seeing that the title has become more and more and more critical and important, and it's not because it changed in importance levels. It's that they have added so much more content down below. We've gone from 4 bullet points to 8 bullet points in most categories. You've increased the number of characters. You have like special features bullets that you have now. All those aspects are, the AI is doing a good job chewing through those pieces, but it's dilutive. And so the title and the first bullet points have become more critical than ever before to have the content and the context included.
Great point, Spencer. And Maria, you touched on this in your last response, so I'm going to kick it back to you. But given Prime Day's supply chain challenges, what proactive steps would you recommend brands take now in order to make sure that their Q4 runs as smoothly as possible?
I feel like for the next few minutes, I'm going to sound like an absolute broken record, but get inventory shipped out early. Longer lead times in FCs, like right in past years, I've seen them take 6 to 8 weeks to receive a shipment. If you can get shipments out in smaller parcels versus truckloads, that'll also help Amazon receive it quicker. Build buffer stock as well if you can, right? You don't want to, excuse me, you don't want to run out mid-event and then also miss out on the halo effect post-deal events. So just really planning accordingly, and then also align your stock with your deals and your marketing strategies. You don't want to promote an item that maybe you don't have a ton of inventory on. Focus on other items and inventory that you'll be able to fulfill throughout the entirety of the event.
Okay, here's a fun hack. In your Vendor Central and Seller Central report, you can actually pull sales by zip code. Go in, figure out your sales by zip code, forward deploy the inventory to the proper FCs, right? If you do that, you'll find that your inventory out of stocks will go much smoother. Again, a lot of people don't understand that when you log in from Boston and I log in from Salt Lake City, we see different products being available based upon what's available in that FC. So you got to get not just in stock, but you got to get in stock in the correct FC.
And I think just overall is, again, this trend of these events being longer, like I think it just underscores to Andy the importance of communication. So like within Tinuiti, we make sure during big tentpole events, we've got, an email chain or whatever mode of communication is preferred by our client. We've got representatives from their media team who's helping direct media strategy, as well as their operations like retail team, along with our counterparts at Amazon, just to make sure like everyone's in lockstep. And like in a lot of cases, those teams are syncing, even if it's for 10 minutes a day, each day of the event. So I think, again, the longer event, it just really underscores the importance of communication as things, they change so quickly during these temples. It's important to keep all those different teams really in lockstep.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so we've all obviously touched on a lot of really great takeaways. If you had to zero it in on, what is the single most important action that brands should take today to win in Q4, what would it be? Spencer, I'm going to go to you first.
Yeah, I think that customized analysis of your brand is, I cannot emphasize that enough, that you have to, like, it's different depending upon the category. It's different when people shop. It's different what your brand content and context needs to look like. You have to look at customized analysis of the brand. And if you have AI tools to do it, all the better that you have. If you don't, let us know, we'll help. But like, that's really the critical piece, is customized analysis of your brand for the inputs and outputs.
And on my end, I know you're tired of hearing me say this word, but inventory, inventory, inventory. You cannot sell what you don't have in stock. So you will get a lot of missed revenue opportunity if you're out of stock. So forecast early and forecast accordingly. Ask for help, right? If you're partnered with Tinuiti, that's what we do. So definitely start early.
And I think on the ad side, it sounds simple, but I think a contingency plan is really imperative to success. This Prime Day being 4 days, I think, was an eye-opening event for us, because in the past it's been 2 days. And when an ASIN is suppressed, or you're out of stock, or campaigns are down, or you're out of budget, a few hours being down is like detrimental to the success of Prime Day. And so this year, with that extended 4 period, it did give it a little bit of like an extension. But I do think coming into the fall, having that set up, so having those conversations with your stakeholders and those leaders that are making the decision of what to pivot to, and having that prepped for any roadblocks that are coming through, is really important for success, not even just for October Prime Day, but for Q4 in general. And then within those periods, you're not having to like basically do a war room and make that decision right there. That's already prepped, and you can kind of have an action plan in place. And we've done this for other brands, and it's worked really well. Obviously, there are roadblocks that we can't really foresee, but knowing kind of the basic roadblocks and what would be the next action step is really how to set up for Q4 success, and be able to really action off of that.
And for me, I think the most important takeaway is knowing who your customers are. So I think it was mentioned a couple times on this panel and webinar, everyday essentials were kind of like won the day on Prime Day. But within Tinuiti, the highest selling products across our clients were noise canceling headphones, air purifiers, and luggage. So there still is a lot of opportunity for brands who don't fit that like everyday essentials category to be successful on Prime Day, but you need to know who your consumers are. So going out, pulling audience overlap reports in the DSP, understanding what keywords are driving the most effective, like new to brand conversion or just overall conversion. And if you're proficient in AMC or have a partner who is, like Tinuiti, we can look at that across all of your Amazon sales so that we know exactly who's buying on Prime Day to inform who we should be prioritizing our media targeting for during, whether it's Prime Big Deal Day or just overall in Q4. So knowing who your consumer is super, super important.
Awesome. Great combo, everybody. I'm about to do something really annoying though, because I have to scroll back through this deck to get to where I need to be. So everybody just look away for a moment. I'm going to delete this in the recording, so it's not even here. All right, there we go. Really great discussion. I wanted to just quickly recap some of the, can y'all hear me?
Mm-hmm.
You can? Okay. I thought my mic was off. All right, just want to double check. I'm going to recap some of these key takeaways. So first, we saw definitely like a clear trend. Prime Day shoppers were focused on practical and essential items. So this tells us a lot about the consumer priorities right now. So discounting strategy is more critical than ever. And then while some days certainly outperformed others, the big takeaway here is that brands simply need to remain active with both deals and advertising throughout these major sales events. So it's about maximizing those high volume opportunities consistently. And then a significant disruptor we discussed is AI search. So to truly win in this evolving landscape, brands must prioritize having that AI ready content in place by mid-September. This definitely isn't a future problem. This is a now problem. So pay attention there. And then finally, a recurring theme from Prime Day was the impact of supply chain challenges. Definitely crucial for media and operations teams to be in lockstep. So ensuring your marketing budgets and deals align with actual available inventory is key to avoiding that missed revenue. And I don't see any questions in the chat. I think all of the ones that have come up during we've addressed. So I just wanted to give incredible thanks to our panelists. Special shout out to Andy and Spencer for kicking us off with that great data, and to the whole panel for your strategic takeaways from Prime Day 2025. Definitely what our audience needs to shape a winning Q4. I'm just going to give everybody a second if any questions pop up. I'm not seeing anything. So I am going to move along. I'm going to go ahead and share this link right here. So just a note for our audience at Tinuiti, we are always tracking the latest trends and data in the commerce space. So to get more exclusive insights like these from our team, be sure to sign up for our monthly commerce newsletter. And that I just launched in the bottom left-hand corner. So you can go ahead and click that. And I'll leave that there for a moment. And before you log off, I want to make sure that you grab our Q4 checklist. So it's an interactive PDF designed to help you analyze your Prime Day performance, double down on what drove growth. And if you're looking for more actionable advice after this, definitely keep an eye out for our new video series. It's our Q4 Quick Hits. We're going to be dropping short, snackable videos with expert tips on leveraging Q4. You'll be able to find all of this, including the recording for this webinar, on our Tinuiti's webinar on demand page. So the same page that you register for this event will have everything listed there for you. We'll be sharing it on social media as well. The first one will drop next week, so make sure you check it out there. And again, this Q4 checklist is in that handouts tab, so you can download that. And then again, just a huge thank you to everyone. Appreciate our audience joining us. Appreciate the engagement in the chat, and look forward to seeing you all next time. Have a great afternoon. Thanks all.